card in some matchups. Right now, probably not worth the slot. It's really the best against Scapeshift, Ad Nauseam, Tron. Against Tron, you can Ghost Quarter a tower and then you Jester's Cap with 3 other towers. Against Ad Nauseam, you just take the Lightning Storm. Against Scapeshift, you just take the Valakuts or 3 Mountains. And it's just a game winner. Anticipate, is it good enough? I'm not sure. I like it. Because, so here's the thing. In the early game, oftentimes you have a Remand or a Condescend or a Repeal in your hand. And you keep all your mana open. Your opponent does something. And you know, you didn't get an opportunity to remand, or you didn't get an opportunity to condescend just because the opponent played very cheap spells, or the opponent played spells which you didn't want to counter. And if that happens, you want to have something like First for Knowledge in your hand. But so often, actually, that 1 mana difference between Anticipate and First for Knowledge matters. Because it's turn 2, or because you want to keep mana open for something else. You know, and I found that Anticipate has been a really interesting draw. Whenever I see Anticipate, I'm actually happy. And there's been a lot of discussion between on the forums where this deck is discussed about Anticipate and if it's good enough. And there's some people who say Anticipate is unplayable, and then there's some who are willing to cut First for Knowledge for Anticipate just because having to pay 2 mana instead of 3 mana is such a big difference. Now I just added this because I had 1 open slot and I wanted to give it a try. But the thing is, if I had more open slots, I would probably play like 2 or 3 of them. Because I really think they help you curve out better, they help you dig for your answers, they help you in the early game. Just so often in the early game, you have, at the end of your opponent's turn, you have 2 mana open, but you don't have 3, you don't have enough for first. So maybe a 3-3 split between those is actually maybe the way to go. But First Knowledge is so strong, I just really can't get myself to cut it down to 3. But so often I only have 2 mana, so I think this is at least definitely worth thinking about and testing out, but I think the jury's still out on this one. Have you tried Magic Duels? I have. I hate it. What was in the Silent Arbiter spot before? That's a good question. I think a Dismember. I'm 99% sure this was a Dismember. And I've played the Silent Arbiter for like 4 months, I would say. I'm guessing, half guessing here. I've played the Silent Arbiter for like half a month, 4 months. I was gonna say half a year, but that's not true. For 4 months, and I really like it. It's amazing, and a lot of people think it's just garbage. But think about the meta game, and think about how many decks win by attacking with a lot of creatures. You play this. It's a fog, basically. It's a fog that lasts several turns until they draw a path. And if they path this, you ramp to 6 mana and you play an engine next turn, and then they don't have a path anymore. It just buys you so much time, and if you put a better skull on the Silent Arbiter, you're just winning the game. And if you have a Chalice on 1+ Silent Arbiter, so many decks cannot win. Cutting first seems like heresy, but I understand your reasoning.